I think Putin wants two things in Ukraine. The first thing is to be able to have a say in Ukraine's future and in Ukraine's geopolitical direction. This is a topic that he writes about very often. And his view is that Ukraine and Russia are brotherly nations, that Ukrainians and Russians are very similar or almost alike. It is that they really should be kind of united as a whole. The second thing that he really wants in Ukraine is to keep NATO, the Western military alliance, out of Ukraine and away from Russia's borders. Other countries that border with Russia are already in NATO. These are countries that used to be in the Soviet Union, but the idea of it entering Ukraine is somehow different. It's seen almost as a kind of red line here, and that has a sort of bunch of different origins. One is that there is a security issue. Ukraine has a long border with Russia, but there's also a kind of shared cultural history. YouTube. Manually. So the two major goals for Vladimir Putin is one, to kind of keep Ukraine close to Russia, and number two is to keep Ukraine away from the West. There are a couple of reasons, but I think the clearest one is just that Vladimir Putin looks the situation in East Ukraine. He realizes that he's not making any progress in the status quo. And he's in fact worried that things are getting worse. What we see is a simmering but frozen conflict, and at the same time, we see Ukraine growing increasingly closer to Western states. We see more military support for Ukraine, more general support for Ukraine. This kind of change over the last 8 years, where Ukraine has really charted an independent course, a per-Western course. He views it as a major problem for Russia and something that he wants to reverse in the near future. There really are a lot of different scenarios in terms of what Russia wants out of this. One is this idea that it's about territory, and this could either involve just the idea of gaining territories where there are Russian speakers in Ukraine. It could be more strategic, looking at something like trying to create what's called a land bridge to Crimea, so actually having a contiguous kind of piece of land that reaches Crimea. But the second idea is that this is about something broader and about really kind of controlling Ukraine's future. And one issue is that even taking new territory doesn't really give Russia a veto over what happens in Ukraine next. So it is possible that there's a kind of a broader goal in everything that's happening right now.